Great.
Hi, everybody. It is so awesome to be doing these strengths readings again. I really have had a blast diving into some of these reports. If you don't know, like if I haven't told you personally or put this on my page, when I see a report, it's like Christmas. It's like, oh my gosh, I get so excited, like because each person is like, I get to learn so much about people just by reading their reports. And it's a cool thing. Today, I have the pleasure of revisiting a report that was someone I worked with over a year ago. Stephanie, how are you today?
Good. Very happy to be here and chat with you again.
Yay. And I worked with her last year. I was hooked up with her team through a friend of mine that I met coaching, and I was able to have like an 8-week course with her doTERRA team with strengths and strategy. And we were just talking before we hit the record button about how the part of the course that I really liked the most, looking back and reflecting, was the first half, when it was all about like understanding your strengths and who you were and the dynamics of the relationships with people. And the part I didn't like was actually the part on doTERRA. And Stephanie was like, yeah, I agree. Why didn't you tell me sooner? That's all I need to know. Anyway. So opened up her strengths a little bit ago. I was taking a look at them. And for people who are looking for the first time or watching for the first time, what I do is when I see the report, I take a quick glance at the colors next to the strengths, look for the domains, and I look for pairs or combinations or sometimes they just pop out at me, and I see these combinations which really lend to the power. Strengths do not live in a vacuum. They're not just, here's my empathy strength, so I'm just empathy. There is so much more to it. You know, Stephanie, can I share your report with the group?
Absolutely.
All right, great. I always have to ask permission just to make sure I don't want to scare you or anything. Did I hit the right button? Oh, wrong button. We tried again. There it is. That's the one I wanted to hit. All right, good. So here is her report. And so, and I feel like I keep repeating myself because I explain it every week, but right here are the domains. These are the domains. So the purple domain, and she has one of them in her top 10, is executing. It's how you get things done, like being productive, being efficient, how you get stuff done. The orange, influencing, just one. It's okay. Okay. It's how you move people. Like, what do you do to get people to move forward, take steps, take action in their lives? The blue are relationship building, and she's got a whopping 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. It's how you connect with people and who you connect with. Like who are your people and how do you keep those connections going? And then the green are the strategic thinking, and you got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those as well. And how you like get information, says absorb and analyze information. How's it go in? How do you process it? And how do you share it with people? So when you saw your strengths report, you took this back in
like August or July of 2020.
There it is. September of 2020.
September.
Right before our group. Right before our group started, September of 2020. So when you opened it, how did you feel when you first saw, like, I'm only going to discuss your top right now. I'm not going to discuss the bottom. That's for like round 2. But what did you think about your strengths in general?
So empathy, number 1, made 100% sense. A lot of the other words, sometimes I was like, what does that even mean? But I was a little surprised by the degree of strategic thinking. But relationship building made sense. And yeah, several made sense, like the responsibility, the learner. But yeah, like maximizer, I was like, I don't even know what that means,
You know what it means now? I hope you know what it means now.
Of course I know what it means now, yes.
Good.
But at the time I was like, what is that? And the adaptability made a lot of sense as well. That was a big, I was like, oh yeah, that's definite. And then, even looking at some of my lower ones, like the woo and to a degree, communications. Yeah, some of those, yeah, make a ton of sense that they're in my lower strengths. And yeah, it definitely all makes sense to me. And it makes even more sense after working with you, of course.
At least I didn't make it worse. That's
No.
a good thing. All right, good. Whew. Always worry about that kind of stuff. All right. So, first impressions, which really it's just taking a look at it again, is that you have this equal desire, because in your top 10, and I don't want to look at your other parts right now. I just when I coach people, I want to focus on your top part. I want you to love those strengths. That's my goal, is to love those top 10, because in those top 10, that's where you do things with like energy, excitement. It's easy for you. You get up for it. It's like your zone. Like I'm on fire. You get energized for it. So you've got this equal amount of relationship building and strategic thinking. So the question, by looking at this, is in your head, what do you lead with? Do you connect with people to teach them things, or do you learn stuff to connect with people?
Probably I connect with people to teach them things.
Okay.
Yeah. So I love learning so that I can teach people things. Like pretty much most of my jobs have always been related around that,
Yeah.
I used to teach wine classes of like how to pair things properly, and it was all about learning, and then it became the oils and the skincare, and so yeah, I love to educate people.
And is there a strength that you look at right now in the relationship building domain that you're like, that's the big one for me? That one really drives the train.
Probably empathy.
How? Can you explain?
Because I especially with like my skincare, I'm an esthetician. Somebody comes into that room, it's pretty personal. People are like revealing their skin and their issues with it, and they're very conscious of what they're, and they expect me to like look at them and find more problems in their skin. And I always, the first thing is like empathy, and say, you're beautiful. What are you, what are you talking about? But at the same time, empathizing with them for whatever concerns they have. But even as a relationship building, just like meeting a stranger on the street, I just tend to have empathy for people. So I'd say that's what I lead with. And then it becomes, whether it's teaching them about skincare or whatever.
So that initial conversation you have with somebody is what kind of information are you trying to get from them?
Well, as an esthetician, if they're coming for a facial, let's say, they're going to be laying on my table and I'm looking at them with this big loop lamp that's like, magnifying their skin. And so I'm sitting there looking, what are the flaws? What's going on with the skin? What's the problem that I need to fix, basically? Okay. And so that's why it's a very intimate and kind of sensitive moment for some people, because they might feel like, so I, using the empathy, try to make them feel as comfortable as possible, and then educate them on how we're gonna, address whatever I see or don't see, and help them out, to feel better about themselves.
Do you ask a lot of questions?
Sometimes.
No. I mean, looking at your strengths, there's a strength that's number 2. That's all about asking questions.
Yeah, that one has always kind of been. So, I feel like I use input more in a way of the researcher part, like when it comes to looking up, how do I further educate on whatever the topic is that I want to be addressing, versus asking a million questions.
Okay.
It's more like, how do I dig deeper so that I can create more collect more information that I can share with the world, and how can I make it better,
Your 2 and your 9, your input and your learner, that's like the dynamic duo of information gathering.
Yes.
Like the learner is the books and the courses and the classwork and the trainings. That's where the learner comes in. The input is just everything you can get your hands on.
Right.
Like that is, and that input can come from the questions you ask people. And then, right. So then that information, see, this is a beautiful part. And I want to just kind of share how I see this, and you can tell me if I'm like way off base or not. But I see, I could be. I see the questions you ask, you sense their emotional. It's pretty, pretty obvious. They're laid bare on the table, like you said, and they're like to the whole, for you to take a look at really and dive deep into their soul almost. And you've got the input, and then you take that information, and you probably have a really good memory. You have a good memory? Yeah. And probably years of studying and time. And so like your input is like a vault. And it's like you have this catalog in your brain of information. I often, I look at it like a filing cabinet, or even like a computer. Like you have the folder. Oh, this issue, I'm going to open this folder up and I'm going to see and you're like, in your head, you're kind of remembering what you did last. What's the protocol? What's the, how can you speak to them? And so then that maps out your strategy. See your strategic number 7. What's the plan I'm going to give them? Now, the whole time it's happening, you're getting to know them. Your relator is really getting that information. And then your developer is helping them do it. The developer walks hand in hand. The developer says, here's where you are. Here's where you want to be. Let's give you a plan, and let's check progress, and let's celebrate when it gets better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I would imagine that people would just love to come to you because of that care you give them.
Probably. I hope so. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think you're right.
Because I can't imagine coming to someone and someone being like very disciplined and cold. Boom, boom, boom. That would really be uncomfortable. So your maximizer, you brought the maximizer up earlier. What do you think about your maximizer? And then I'll get to my relationship question.
So I think that is something that I utilize being the managing director of my networking chapter. Okay. Because it's about bringing out the best in people. So I think that's a big part of it. And then I suppose when I'm doing more my skincare coaching and helping somebody see what they do have that's good going on in their skin, or how we're improving, things like that. So yeah, I think that's where.
Yeah. The combination that you have really suits and from what my impression, suits your job and your profession very well.
Yeah.
You need to have information, you need to have a gentle touch, and you need to be able to give them the best possible plan. And really, you expect excellence out of yourself. And anything less than the results, anything less than the best results is going to drive you bonkers. Basically, right?
Yeah. Or not finding an answer, or not, reaching the ideal goal. Yeah, that drives me crazy.
Yeah. So, my big focus now is relationships. And we were talking earlier, is there right now a specific area of your life with the relationship that you're not struggling with necessarily, but focusing on specifically in your life?
I mean, probably my son, just because, he's 7 years old. He's my little dude. I'm with him all the time, but he also is becoming very much so his own person who sasses back now, instead of just yes, mama.
Oh, welcome to that area.
Right?
That's awesome. So thinking about, so now you don't know his strengths yet. It's kind of too early to take the test. Maybe you've kind of you went, "Ooh, I noticed something about you," right? Yeah, but in that relationship, is there a strength that you have in your top 10 that you're like, it's being triggered. It's like, oh my gosh, this dude is just pushing me to my limit in this particular strength, and I'm not able to use it the way I want to?
Honestly, I think in some ways, maybe the adaptability, like, because being a mom, you need at times there to be the structure. And right now, like, especially let's say bedtime, it's like, no, I don't want to do that, and I do have to sometimes, like, rather than being my adaptable self, sometimes I have to like lay that hammer down and be like, no, this is what's happening. Because I do tend to be that like flexible mom who's just like, oh, let's, we'll make this work however it happens, but there's getting to be more of those moments where, or even just figuring out that schedule of, he comes home from school, gets to have a little bit of time to run and play, and then it's like dinner, getting ready for bed, and like, where are we going to fit in a little bit of reading, or maybe he should do some math work from school, just to make sure. And like last year I was homeschooling, so it was like we could get it all done by noon and have the rest of the day to do whatever the heck we wanted, and now it's like, oh god, so yeah, my adaptability is, I think, slightly challenged right now.
So you want to stay adaptable, but you realize now that you can't.
Yeah, that I need to add that little bit more structure, or like a set schedule that, I mean, I need it because of obviously like work and life and all the things, but at the same time, I like to allow him time to flow and do his things as well. And it's just kind of like some days just go way off the rails.
Well, and sometimes, and adaptability is a relationship building strength. It's about how you react with people in situations, right? Too.
Yeah.
So if like the S is hitting the fan, you offer the person who's like, yeah, let's just switch. We can switch gears. I got this.
Yeah.
I'm easy. Like if we don't go here, we go here, right?
Right.
But
sometimes I'm hitting the WTF.
Yeah, and it's like, so making sure you have some boundary as to not being Gumby, you can't be super flexible all the time. When you I'm sure you because you love the ability to just go with the flow and like, fly by the seat of your pants. How does he react when you are a little more structured or strict with something and he's not used to it?
So he can be rather structured, but it's all by his own whims. So therefore, depending on what the situation is, he can become a little punk butt, like stomping the feet and I don't want to do that right now. And, trying to push whatever button to get whatever it is he wants,
Sure. He's 7. He's playing it.
Growing, learning the things, but it's just,
Have you thought about, when you react to it, is it unexpected, or is it sort of like, is it becoming more of a regular thing for him to have those?
Just hang it up, dude. Go play. Sorry.
No, hey, I get it, right? But the question is when you're in those moments, right? When he wants you to change on the fly and he's trying to push adaptability, and inside you're like, I really wish we could change it. We can't, but like, no, we got to stay firm, right? Yeah. Does he know that's the reaction you're going to give? Or is it always like, what's mommy going to say? What's she going to say? What's she going to do?
Probably like what's she going to do?
Okay. Yeah. Have you thought about, this is just a suggestion, my suggestion for you when it comes to adaptability, is setting up situations when mommy can be adaptable in situations when I can't.
Yeah. And
even when you're trying to, like dinner's going to be, this is the dinner, but I don't want that. How about we go out here instead? And it's like, okay, no. Dinner's not, well, I'm not sure if that's, dinner's dinner is what it's going to be. I'm not going to bend on this one. Have you laid out those like rules for him?
Yeah, there's definitely certain things like that. Yeah. Where there's, I don't bend. Yeah, I think it's more like lately my husband's been away a lot with work, so I tend to get a little bit more like, okay, fine, if you want to stay up till 8:30, whatever, dude, I don't care, and then of course in the morning I'm like, why the heck did I do that?
Yeah.
He doesn't want to get out of bed. So learning from my adaptability as well.
and your adaptability can change.
Yeah.
Right? Based on the person, situation, strategically speaking, how they're feeling. You should know, you will know, you already know this. I'm not saying you should, you probably know this, that you can sense his emotional state.
Yeah.
And that like, there's probably like the bedtime thing. Like, dude, you're wigging out right now, and I can tell like you're emotionally spent. So we are not being flexible in bedtime. You got to go to bed.
Yeah,
like that's
exactly.
not going to happen, right? And
Yeah.
so there's always these ideas that you're always adaptable or you're never adaptable. Like you're super strict. That's like false.
Yeah.
Right. So every strength has a set of rules that follows, and you dictate the rules. And all the rules for every strength change based on who you're with.
Right.
Your adaptability rules are going to be different for the people you work with.
Right.
Like, I'm sure at work, no, you can't just do something else because you want to. We have to follow a routine and a structure.
Yeah.
And your adaptability might be a little bit triggered there. Like you might be like, oh God, I really wish we could do something different. Like, I got to stick to the rules, right? Versus your children and friends, and versus your husband. Like there's different ways those rules are established. Part of your job, right, is to identify the differences in different circumstances. Now this can be very, very, I mean, honestly, strengths are unlimited when it comes to all the little nuances.
Yes.
So like the really dedicated people can like, I'm not even this dedicated, right? But you can in more like a mental rule book, right? Mentally, you say to yourself, okay, my adaptability, I'm with this situation. These are the rules that follow with my son for dinner, with my son for bedtime, with my son for playtime. So you have to have communication with the people that you're talking to, about those rules, so they know what you want.
Right.
if you don't tell them what you want or what you expect, they won't know it. And then they're like, I didn't know. And you're like, you should have read my mind. And that's not really possible.
What, that doesn't happen? I mean,
no. I got a 22-year-old, a 19, and a 15. And even after living with them for 22 years and whatever, how many years, they can't read my mind. And you would think my facial expression would give away that I'm kind of angry or disappointed. Like, what I do? Kind of thing. Anyway, that's another day for another day. Story. Yep. Are there any questions you have? We're gonna wrap this up and we're gonna close it out. But do you have any questions or anything to add to any of the conversation we had so far today?
No, I mean, I think it makes total sense, like moving this towards the relationship building, because that's what it's all about. Like every person we interact with is some sort of relationship. It's not just the romantic or the, whatever. And I think that was the most interesting part of working with you, was learning both my strengths and other people's strengths so that we could work better together, and to understand each other better. So I think it's awesome. I don't know. I'm a big dork. You've created a strengths dork over here. My strategic thinking gets super excited to learn. So
my mission is complete. I've turned you into a dork. I want to like a world of strengths dorks. That's what I want to create.
Yes. Dan's strengths dorks.
Yeah, Dan's dorks. All right. Hey, come hang out with Dan, be a dork. No, it's not my tagline. It's not my tagline. We're not going to go there.
Okay, I apologize.
Right. That's okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you in some other places. I know we have some common threads. We're going to be, connecting with different groups. I look forward to reaching out to your people, and hopefully they become dorks too.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right.
Have a
Hey,
good one.
thanks, Steph.
Thank you.